Dear human being, beloved soul, I welcome you to my podcast series, Conversations with the Universe. After a near-death experience, my perception of our human existence changed profoundly. I became more sensitive, with all our known senses. I feel more intensely, see people with different eyes, and often take a different perspective on life and our challenges. In my books, I share these altered perspectives and all the knowledge that has flowed through me since my near-death and thus record it. For all those who are searching for something more, for the meaning of our existence here on Mother Earth. And it is now a great pleasure for me to share this knowledge with you in this way as a supplement to my books. This season I am dedicating myself to my very first work, the basics of being. I wish you many wonderful insights on your path. Thank you. Love.
You have already experienced that, and how everything in the cosmos is eternally connected in action and reaction. The one reacts to the other. Something never reacts just like that. It is always preceded by another impulse, an action. Whether this action comes from the earthly plane or from another is irrelevant. Like an echo sounder, this force sends out constant impulses. Depending on how the frequencies of the sender and receiver resonate with each other, one receiver perceives the echo sounder, while someone else does not. The person himself and his lifestyle are decisive for the perception of such impulses. The purer your body, the clearer your consciousness, and the more clearly you can perceive the impulses of others. But whether pure or not pure, the human being is embedded in a sea of an infinite number of such impulses and resonance fields, all of which are in constant exchange. And here too, it is the heart, our gateway, that perceives and sends the impulses. As you already know, the heart is the turbo of your thoughts, because it turns them into feelings, and feelings are much more powerful than thoughts. So emotions also evoke a resonance much more quickly and strongly than thoughts do. Whether you do something with your heart energy or not has a decisive effect on how the other energy fields resonate with it. Impulses formed from the heart evoke different reactions than impulses without the heart. You are energy that has a consciousness and has taken on an organism in order to be able to work on this level. Energies communicate through resonance. The energies create so-called resonance fields and communicate with each other by means of these. You are the transmitter and receiver of these resonance fields. All your thoughts are energies, so every thought creates such an energy field. It becomes an intention, and this power wants to materialize. Let us now turn our attention to the resonances of doubt. I know people who perceive their lives exclusively from a feeling of extreme separateness. Trust is completely alien to them. The doubts within them become doubts about the outside world. They doubt everything. They encounter all people, their thoughts and actions, with doubt. This closes their heart to the feeling of connectedness and makes it impossible for them to perceive positive energies. You can imagine that people who have a closed heart have completely different experiences than people with an open heart can. An open heart is a prerequisite for trust and devotion. If it is not open, it is not possible to trust and surrender to life. No matter who these people meet, they mistrust each other, insinuate negative intentions, blasphemy, and malicious actions. So it was no wonder that after a while, many of these distrustful people no longer had any friends, and their entire environment plotted and schemed against them. This in turn was grist to their mill, as it confirmed that their doubts were justified. All of this cost people a great deal of strength, and their conscious being was increasingly lost. The connection, the love, the heart, the opening, the gate. As a result, many of them suffered more and more organically from heart disease. The deceptive thing about ego consciousness here in the gross material world is that it comes with an irrefutable power, and will therefore always give you the feeling that you have experienced 100% of reality with everything you perceive. Humans and their non-holistic way of thinking leave little room for a critical view of the self. Everyone assumes that their fellow human beings experience the world in the same way as they do. But there is actually a way to make use of the animal in us, which is the host of the ego, because the animal within us can react directly to the energies around us, just as the animals on our planet can intuitively sense exactly when something is changing energetically, for example, when an earthquake occurs. So can we, with our animal within us. You can therefore distance yourself from this ego through the animal and its fine sense of energy, and thus get closer to yourself. Back to the people whose middle name is doubt. Their fellow human beings turned away from them. The so-called animals in people all reacted in the same way. There is no clearer way to show each other that you need to work on yourself and your attitude. However, as I have already said, every consciousness harbors the great danger of firmly believing that you are always on the highest level and that the fault lies with others. Those who have people around them who make the effort and, despite the defensive attitude of the animal, turn to these people and communicate with them in order to make the laws of action and reaction clear to them, can count themselves lucky. But unfortunately, even this will ultimately fizzle out like a gentle kiss from another world if these people do not manage to open their hearts more strongly by virtue of their free will. I would like to emphasize that external impulses can have very little or no power in such cases. Mother Nature makes no compromises there either. People either recognize the flaw in themselves or they don't. So if you are also experiencing certain patterns in your life, end this vicious circle today and take full responsibility for yourself and your actions. It's not the others. It's never them. The others themselves are usually only unconscious and only react to you. Expect nothing more from them than this animal that reacts, and you will receive a perfect mirror of your being. Now, diversity demands concentration on the essentials. I would also like to emphasize that encounters are based exclusively on the law of resonance. We live in a time in which it is not only very easy to communicate with others from all over the world, we also meet far more people than was the case 100 years ago. This is a quality of our time, and as always in a dual world, it comes with an advantage and a disadvantage. I can clearly see the advantage in the variety of possibilities that spread out before you, like a sea of flowers. The disadvantage is that a lot of communication can also cost a lot of energy. Forming consciousness requires concentration. But the more you communicate, the more you have to focus your attention on these different goals. And depending on your art of collecting yourself and staying focused, this can take a lot of energy, which you actually need for your attention. Because only where you are focused can your consciousness unfold. Bear that in mind. Seeing with your heart means seeing consciously. To consciously recognize that everything acts and reacts in resonance with each other. Therefore, how could it be otherwise? How the world reacts to you is solely a question of your awareness. With an alert consciousness, you can better recognize the people who harmonize better with you and correspond to you more, or not. This is also a process of opening your heart. You can only see physically if you have your eyes open, but if your heart is also open, you will recognize the other person completely and at the same time be recognized more quickly by those who have also opened their heart. A state arises that corresponds to pure giving, giving without expecting anything in return. There is no longer a question that demands something in return for this state. There is no longer a demand. It is. You are an open heart, and the hearts of others fly to you. As long as this is not the case, your heart is not really open. As long as you don't find someone who treats you lovingly and warmly, you haven't properly corrected the components within yourself. I come across many people who constantly complain about the disrespect and cruelty they experience when living with other people. But when I take a closer look at the circumstances, I always realize quite clearly that they are the ones whose hearts are closed. And then what happens to them is just a logical conclusion, and no longer a surprise, disrespect, or cruelty. It is the answer. And I would like to remind you to join our community spine. We are a community that wants to help you live a healthier life, practice your spirituality, and expand your consciousness. We help you find and connect with healers around the world, and we help you give your life a new meaning in different ways. We are Spine, connections that help.